Hi everyone, I'm Matt from Looking to Bitcoin, and today we're going to be looking at 1 million wallets containing at least one Bitcoin. To do this, we'll be using a number of resources that are freely available on lookingtobitcoin.com, your number one source for Bitcoin information. If you haven't already, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to ensure you're receiving all of our content as soon as it's released. So if we just look here on the addresses containing at least one BTC, we have finally surpassed 1 million unique addresses, which is amazing for the Bitcoin rate of adoption and the general growth we've had over the last decade plus. Although, quick confession, if I zoom in a little bit here, we can actually see as I film this, we're not quite at 1 million unique addresses. I was thrown off a little bit as we had a very constant rise to the upside of around 400 different addresses a day. So I came to film this today and we actually decreased about 500. So I'm sure by the time you see this, this will have crossed a million, or if not, it will be very close. But what does this actually mean for Bitcoin? Well, as we said, it's a great sign of the rate of adoption and growth for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies in general as the new asset class, trying to disrupt the general traditional financial sectors. And what we can see is, as well as just the one BTC wallet, we can look at many different wallets here and see the general uptrend we've seen across most retail sizes. The addresses containing just 0.01 BTC has again continued to skyrocket almost exponentially recently to new all-time highs, recently surpassing 12 million unique addresses, which is absolutely amazing. Obviously, we have to consider that a lot of the addresses may be owned by one individual who potentially is splitting up their holdings across multiple different wallets. We also need to take into account that potentially a lot of these addresses may be grouped together. Like we saw here as Bitcoin made its low of this bear cycle, we saw across almost all metrics a huge jump in addresses containing to the upside, as many people were taking their coins off of exchanges due to the FTX insolvency and just general fear in the market as we reached the lows of this cycle. So we saw a huge jump there as many exchanges actually grouped these holdings together. So this isn't a truly perfect, accurate figure of how many different individuals there are that are holding Bitcoin, because for the reasons we said, they could be grouped together or potentially just aren't being accounted for. But as a general gauge for retail interest and growth of an asset class, it's pretty much the best we have to do so. We can also see addresses with a balance of at least 0.1 Bitcoin, and this again has continued to rally to the upside almost exponentially to near 4.5 million, and even some slightly bigger ones such as the 10 BTC wallets continuing to rise and even challenging the previous all-time high we set in the previous bull cycle. As it continues, it wouldn't surprise me, as we said, to rally to even higher highs. However, if we do look at larger wallets, such as the addresses containing at least 1,000 Bitcoin, we can see this isn't quite on the same trajectory and has actually been on quite a steady downtrend for the previous few months. Now, there is a few reasons that I think that may be causing this. Again, like we said, with the exchange collapsing and multiple different investment firms and funds going bankrupt, many people are probably taking their addresses off exchanges or at least splitting their holdings up. I mean, anyone holding at least 1,000 Bitcoin has a fairly substantial amount of capital to deploy. So maybe they're just being safe, taking their holdings and splitting it up across multiple different wallets and exchanges. Again, a lot of these were probably different exchanges and funds that maybe went bankrupt, and that's why we see a huge decrease. What we can see is, even though this looks fairly stark, if we actually look at the numbers, this is only a few hundred different addresses. Of course, there's a huge amount of capital, so any time we see one of these addresses moving a significant amount of Bitcoin, it might actually have a genuine effect on the market. But we can see in the past few weeks, this actually has had an uptick, and reminds me of the price action, well, data action we had in the previous market here in 2017, 2018. Just after we peaked, these addresses with at least 1,000 Bitcoin declined fairly substantially before it reached a low, rebounded and had some sideways price action before, again, as the next bull market kicked off, this continued to rally to the upside, as there's a fairly positive correlation between the addresses with this much Bitcoin and price action. So as we've bumped and go sideways a little bit now, maybe this will continue to the upside soon. But overall, this is a video to kind of celebrate 1 million different unique addresses holding one Bitcoin, which is a great achievement for a cryptocurrency and an asset class that really hasn't been around that long. So just to summarize, the Bitcoin network has recently surpassed over 1 million unique addresses containing at least one whole Bitcoin. And what we could also see from the other metrics is that other retail sizes such as 0.01 and zero point 0.1 Bitcoin addresses were also reaching new all-time highs as they climbed at an almost exponential rate. What we could see is that over the recent bear market, the number of wallets accumulating as much Bitcoin as they possibly could, especially to cross that 1 Bitcoin barrier, rose exponentially, indicating that many were buying the dip in anticipation of the next bull cycle, and of course taking self-custody of their coins given certain events we had in the crypto space. However, we do have to keep in mind that this does not directly indicate 1 million unique individuals holding one Bitcoin, as many will have multiple different wallets holding their Bitcoin separately just for safety reasons, and many will even be accounted for as they keep their Bitcoin on centralized exchanges. But what we can say is this is still a very good gauge for the general adoption of Bitcoin and digital assets in general. If you like this video, then please visit lookintobitcoin.com, where you can also consider becoming a site subscriber to gain access to live chats, in-depth newsletters, indicator alerts, private TradingView scripts, and more, all for a fraction of the standard industry price. And let me know in the comments down below and on social media, have you crossed this barrier of one whole Bitcoin under your possession? If so, let me know. Great news. If not, are you trying to accomplish that, or are you probably looking at other cryptocurrencies, or maybe just dabbling in crypto and don't want to get too involved? Let me know in the comments down below. I look forward to reading and replying to all of them. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.